Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I create structure week to week as a full-time self-employed artist. First, we're going to walk through goals that I have set for myself and tasks that align with those goals. And then we're going to talk about how I think about structure and how I plan structure in my day-to-day and week-to-week life. If you don't know me from Instagram or social media or even in real life, I have two brands, Upcycled and More, which focuses on handmade and upcycled goods, mainly accessories, and that is the brand that I started about 2.5 years ago and have been running it part-time while working full-time on the side for a while until recently, and I'll get into that later. And about a month ago, I launched another brand called Illustrated and More, which focuses on illustration, digital design, and branding. I actually got laid off from my previous full-time job at the end of May, and so after running my business for about 2.5 years part-time, I decided to take the plunge and run it full-time. So before, when I was running my business part-time, I was kind of just making products, selling products either online or at local pop-up markets, and I felt like I was just trying my best to create good content for social media as much as I could. And while there's nothing wrong with running your business that way, for me, I felt like when I went full-time with my business, I wanted to build more and expand more. Because being self-employed was a new thing for me a few months ago, I did a lot of trial and error as well as soul searching for what I wanted to be doing. And I did do some work recently to create some longer term goals for my businesses because I know I want to keep working in the creative realm as I continue forward in my career. So I thought it was really important that the work I was doing with my businesses aligned with my future goals as well as my short-term goals. I'd be happy to do a separate video on goal setting and strategic planning for small business owners, particularly artists, in the future if people are interested, so let me know in the comments if that is something that you'd be interested in. Okay, first up, I want to talk about goals. So I have 4 main goals that are kind of both short-term in some ways and long-term in other ways, and you'll see what I mean. The first is that for both Upcycled and More and Illustrated and More, I really want to focus on growing both my e-commerce stream of revenue, so mainly just selling items online, as well as my custom work and freelance stream of revenue, which I have done a little bit of already with Upcycled and More, but I really want to build it out for both of my businesses because I think that the more custom and freelance work I do, the better that looks for 1, future clients that may be bigger, and 2, future employers in case I want to go back into the 9-to-5 job force, which I do think I may want to do in the future. So I think showing that I have a track record of completing projects for clients and working with the various softwares or mediums that you would need as a creative definitely helps improve my credibility. Next goal is just to actually maintain Upcycled and More where it is. In the past, I wanted to kind of expand that business more to make handmade garments and such, but right now I just feel like it's not the right path for me, and I want to still have that business and keep upcycling and making accessories for people, but I don't want that to be my main stream of revenue. And like I said before, I want to continue leaning into custom work more. So really here, I just want to make sure I'm continuing to put out good content, make new products that fit into the realm of what I've already been making. My third goal is to build out Illustrated and More. Like I said before, this is about a month old, so it's very, very new. And with this comes some unique challenges. I have 2 separate Instagram pages, so now I'm posting to 2 pages, Upcycled and More, Illustrated and More, and I'm trying to actively build my following and my, I guess, portfolio of work on my Illustrated and More social media channels. So I want to be really consistent about building that community and also simultaneously building out opportunities to make an income from that business. So whether that's selling physical goods, doing freelance work like I mentioned before, I really want to make sure I'm actively working to build up Illustrated and More versus with Upcycled and More, I'm kind of just maintaining it and letting it grow naturally with the way it is right now. And my last goal is building out And More Studios, which is the title of this YouTube channel. And More Studios kind of encompasses all of my businesses and just my work as a creative. So it's kind of like the overarching face of both brands on platforms where I only have one account or profile, such as YouTube, as well as like kind of the umbrella that houses my work in the legal and tax side of things. So with these goals, I try to have my tasks that I do every week aligned to my goals. And typically I do all of the following in a regular week. Number one, I continue to fulfill any online orders that come in from my e-commerce shop, as well as custom work that may come in. And this is primarily right now for Upcycled and More, but I do hope to be doing it for Upcycled and Illustrated and More in the future. Two, I will continue making and marketing new products that I create for both businesses. Number three, I want to continue to put a heavy emphasis on content creation and creating really good, sustainable workflows for content creation, because I'm trying to build a presence online on multiple channels. So this is coming up with concepts and filming and editing and posting content to YouTube, both my Instagram channels, TikTok, and sometimes Pinterest as well. I really hope with emphasizing this task of content creation that it will lead to more sales and more freelance opportunities down the road as I gain a bigger presence online. I do want to put a little disclaimer out here that I am still working on trying to find a balance for all of these tasks that I do in a typical week, but you know, a mix of these things that I just mentioned are what I strive for. Okay, let's talk about structure now. When I think about structure, I think about how I'm planning my days in a way that meets my personal and professional needs, as well as doing tasks that are aligned with my goals. When I first went full-time self-employed, I kind of felt like I was just grinding away to make things and sell things all the time. And honestly, I was pretty worried about money, so it was something that I was really prioritizing. It didn't feel like I was building a business in a sustainable and intentional way, which is part of the reason why I wanted to take my business full-time in the first place. And so the whole reason I did all this strategic planning was to give myself a new structure that will help me build the businesses I want to build in the long run. So when we think about what gives people structure when you're a kid, that is usually school. And so that is classes, homework, extracurricular activities, meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then everything else usually gets planned around that, like hanging out with friends or other hobbies. And for the average working adult who has a 9-to-5 job, it is kind of similar, where it's just like meetings they have or tasks they have to do to get their job done, meal times, maybe they have other things in their life that give them joy or make them feel good, like exercising, spending time with partners, friends, things like that. And so those are most likely the regular things that happen in their week-to-week life, and other things aside from that get scheduled around those regularly occurring things. I try to think about structuring my day-to-day and week-to-week business work the same way, so making time to do the things that I need to get done to run my business or to reach my goals, taking time for meals, exercising, seeing friends. And I do try to have a variety of tasks that I do each day, so I don't feel like I'm grinding away at one thing all day. I would say doing a variety of tasks really helps me feel like I am working towards my goals in a kind of balanced or steady way. And I would say one of the biggest perks of doing this day to day is helping with preventing burnout. I think that since I've kind of switched to planning my days with more variety in them, I've noticed that I felt a lot burnt out as a creative, so that's been a good perk. And one other thing I wanted to say here is that I get asked a lot why I stopped doing in-person markets as much, and actually I haven't completely stopped doing them, but I significantly reduced the amount of markets that I was doing. And one reason for this is because they were kind of perpetuating a cycle of me burning out. I would just spend days and days making products leading up to a market. Sometimes they would sell, sometimes they wouldn't sell, but I felt like I always had to catch up with my other goals that I had neglected while I was doing market prep. And so I decided that I would just reduce the amount of markets I was doing by a lot. So maybe do like one every season or so, very minimal, so that I would be able to take the time to build out the other aspects of my business that I had been wanting to build out. So anyway, here are some examples of structure that I give myself every week. Taking the time to wake up and eat breakfast before rushing into work, going to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not perfect about this, but I try to do that as much as I can. And I also try to do it as the first thing when I wake up, because otherwise I might not end up going that day. I always give myself a lunch break. I always try to stop work by a certain time. That time does vary a little bit day to day depending on when I get started, but I try to set a time for myself, usually between 5 and 6 p.m. that I will stop work, even if I'm not done with all my tasks. Like I already mentioned, I try to give myself a variety of tasks each day so I don't feel like I'm doing one thing all day long. For me, that could look like video editing, video filming, admin tasks, sewing, drawing, things like that. Another thing is getting out of the house regularly, even if it's just for errands. I know a lot of people that work from home sometimes struggle with this, or at least struggled with this when COVID hit and a lot of people were working at home still. I still try to get out of the house at least once a day, even if it's just to do errands or go to the gym or even drop off a package at the post office. I find getting out of the house really helps me feel like I've had like a whole day or a fulfilling day, if that makes sense. Next thing is giving myself weekends. In full transparency, I really struggle here. I think I've kind of had a shift from when I was doing a lot of markets to not doing markets, because most markets that I did took place on the weekend, and that was a challenge in and of itself to give myself full break days. But now that I'm not doing as many markets, I do try to give myself Saturday and Sunday off, and now I do struggle with this. It's something that I'm actively trying to improve, or really intentionally just like not work on the weekends, but I try to just like actually relax. I'm gonna leave it at that. And the last thing I want to talk about is my weekly to-do list. I use Notion to make my weekly to-do lists, and on this list I write down tasks that I need to do every single week. You can see that at the top of this page, and then I fill in my to-dos based on this list each day. I try to break down tasks into smaller pieces, as well as keep in mind the balance of different types of work that I'm doing. For example, creative work versus admin work. And you can see this example on Monday where I say format breakfast buddies into a greeting card, and then on Tuesday it says order breakfast buddies greeting card. And so I try to do things like that, one, because it makes me feel accomplished when I get to check little things off my list, and two, it helps me break up my workflow for different things I'm doing. So today I'm going to be doing more design work on my iPad, and tomorrow I'm going to be doing admin work of buying those greeting cards. Another thing you'll notice is that I kind of front load my to-do list, and that is because I'm a human and I don't always get things done when I plan to get them done. While it would be amazing to get everything done when I hope to do it, it just isn't really realistic, and so I like to leave room at the end of my week to finish up tasks that I might have not completed earlier in the week, and that actually does make me feel like I get everything done at the end of that week. One thing I haven't included on this to-do list yet is making content for social media. One of my tasks you'll see is to actually plan that content today, so I will also include tasks related to that on my to-do list after I plan it. And the very last thing I will say here is that I'm not a robot, even though sometimes I try to be. And while I often have ambitious plans for these productive weeks, sometimes things don't go as planned or I have to readjust. I'm prone to overworking myself, and I'm still trying to figure out how long realistically it takes me to do certain things, or how much work I should be planning each week. So if you're looking at this list like, wow, she does so much, and you're comparing yourself, don't. This is mostly just what has worked for me, and so I only want you to take things that might work for you from this video. Please do not compare yourself to me. And I also encourage everyone to actually take time to explore things that might help you be more productive or might help you get in a better workflow, even if those things are not what I've mentioned in this video. Hi, editing Nara here, because I totally forgot to film an outro to that video. Originally, I was gonna make it a vlog and actually show you how my week went with this to-do list in comparison to how it actually played out, but I decided that the video was gonna be too long and it would kind of shift the tone of the video. So if that vlog is already up, go check it out. If not, it'll be up shortly, so just keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe so you can see it in your new subscription videos. But if you watched all the way through, I hope you found something out of that video useful, or at least interesting to learn about. Please leave any questions or thoughts that you have in the comment section, and I will do my best to get back to you. I love talking about this type of thing, especially as I'm kind of going through that process myself, figuring out my flow and just my work as a newly self-employed artist. Definitely keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe for more content about my life as a self-employed artist, and I will see you guys in the next video.